I stood at that restaurant table, staring at my adopted daughter Madison, as she looked me dead in the eye and said, "This table's for important people. Go find another one." Her fiancé Kyle and their 8 friends burst into laughter. The waiter appeared beside me, holding a leather folder. He opened it, and I saw the total. $2,000. Madison had ordered everything on my card. My hand started shaking as I held the receipt. Then I heard it. A deep male voice behind me said firmly, "I don't think so." I turned around slowly, my heart pounding in my chest. Standing behind me was a man in his 70s, maybe 6 feet tall, wearing an impeccably tailored navy suit. His silver hair was combed back perfectly, and his sharp blue eyes held an intensity that commanded attention. I recognized him immediately. Gerald Hartman. I had seen his face in newspapers and on the local news countless times over the years. He was one of the most renowned attorneys in our city, famous for taking on high-profile cases and winning them. "You should be ashamed of yourself," Gerald said, looking directly at Madison. "This woman raised you." Madison's face flushed red, but she recovered quickly. She tossed her long blonde hair over her shoulder and laughed, a sound that cut through me like broken glass. "Stay out of family business, old man." Gerald ignored her completely. He turned to me, his expression softening. "Are you Tina Marshall?" I nodded, too stunned to speak. "How did he know my name?" "I thought I recognized you," he said. Then he turned back to the table, addressing everyone there. "This woman spent 20 years sacrificing everything to raise an ungrateful child." Kyle stood up, his 6-foot frame suddenly defensive. He was handsome in that generic way wealthy young men often are, with perfectly styled brown hair and a designer watch that probably cost more than my monthly salary. "Sir, you need to leave now. This is a private celebration." My mind was reeling. 20 years ago, I was 45 years old, working as a hospital administrator, content with my single life. Then, my younger sister and her husband died in a car accident on Interstate 87 during a snowstorm. They left behind 8-year-old Madison, a small girl with frightened eyes and tangled hair, standing in my doorway with a social worker. I did not hesitate. I took her in that same day. I gave up opportunities for career advancement because I wanted to be present for Madison. I sold my beautiful downtown condo with the skyline view and bought a modest 3-bedroom house in the Riverside School District, one of the best in the state, so Madison could get a quality education. For the first 2 years, she was sweet and loving. She started calling me Mom within 12 months. We would bake cookies together on Sundays. She would crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. I poured everything into her, private tutors when she struggled with math, piano lessons she begged for, a car when she turned 16, 4 years of college at a private university that cost $42,000 a year. But around age 22, something changed. She met Kyle's family at a charity gala. They were old money, the kind of wealth that goes back 4 generations. Suddenly, my modest home embarrassed her. She stopped inviting me to events. When I called, she would sigh heavily and say she was busy. The warm daughter I had raised became a cold stranger who looked at me like I was an inconvenience. Gerald pulled a business card from his jacket pocket and held it out to me. "Call me Monday morning. We need to talk." Madison moved fast. She snatched the card from my hand before I could take it and ripped it into 4 pieces, letting them flutter to the white tablecloth. "She won't be calling anyone." Gerald calmly reached into his pocket and pulled out another card. This time, he walked around the table, opened my purse himself, and placed the card inside. "Yes, she will." The restaurant manager appeared, a thin man in his 50s with worry lines across his forehead. "Is everything all right here?" Gerald turned to him with authority. "Put their entire bill on my account. This woman shouldn't pay a penny." That was when Madison exploded. She stood up so fast her chair scraped loudly against the floor. "You've ruined my engagement party. Get out! Get out right now!" Kyle and his friends joined in, their voices overlapping into a wall of sound. "How dare you embarrass Madison like this? Who do you think you are? Someone call security." I felt tears burning behind my eyes. My chest felt tight. I could not breathe properly. I turned and walked out of that restaurant as fast as I could, past tables of well-dressed diners who stared at me with curiosity and pity. The November air hit my face like a slap when I pushed through the glass doors. I made it to my car, a 12-year-old sedan with a dent in the passenger door, and sat in the driver's seat, with my hands gripping the steering wheel. My phone buzzed in my purse. I pulled it out with shaking hands. Unknown number. The text read, "This is Gerald Hartman. I knew your sister. I know things about Madison you don't. We must talk. There's danger ahead." I stared at the screen. My sister? Gerald knew my sister? Another text came through. "Madison isn't who you think she is. Her biological parents aren't dead." My vision blurred. The phone slipped from my hands into my lap. I sat there in the dark parking lot for 20 minutes, unable to move, unable to process what I had just read. Madison's biological parents weren't dead? But that was impossible. Sarah and Tom died in that car accident. I saw the death certificates. I attended the small memorial service. Unless. I picked up my phone and read the messages again. My hands would not stop shaking. 2 days passed. I did not sleep either night. I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling, replaying Gerald's words over and over. Madison's biological parents aren't dead. What did that mean? Had I been lied to for 20 years? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Madison's cold face as she told me to find another table. I called her cell phone 47 times over those 2 days. Every call went straight to voicemail. I sent text messages. "Please talk to me. I love you. Let me explain." None were answered. On the 3rd day, I could not take it anymore. I drove to Madison's apartment building, a luxury high-rise in the downtown financial district with a doorman and valet parking. I had helped her with the deposit 3 years ago. $5,000 I could barely afford. Now I sat in the lobby on a leather chair, waiting. 3 hours passed. My back ached. The receptionist kept glancing at me nervously. Finally, the elevator doors opened and Madison stepped out. She was not alone. 2 young women flanked her, both dressed in expensive designer clothes with perfect makeup. I recognized them from the engagement party. Courtney and Amber, Madison had called them. I stood up quickly. "Madison, please. We need to talk." She stopped walking and looked at me like I was something unpleasant she had stepped in. "Anything you have to say, you can say in front of them." "This is private," I said quietly. "It's about what that man said at the restaurant, about your biological parents." Madison's entire face changed, first white, then red with rage. Her hands clenched into fists at her sides. "Gerald Hartman is a crazy stalker who has been harassing me for months. He's obsessed with me. He shows up at my work, sends me letters, follows me." "That's not true," I started to say. "I'm filing a police report against him," Madison continued, her voice getting louder. "And I'm filing one against you too, for harassment." "What?" "Madison, I'm your mother. You're not my mother. You're the woman who took me in because you felt obligated. You never wanted me. You just wanted to feel like a good person." Courtney and Amber exchanged glances. Madison turned to them, and suddenly tears were streaming down her face. Real tears. Or at least they looked real. She's always been like this. Controlling. Manipulative. Emotionally abusive. "Madison, stop," I whispered. "She only adopted me to get my parents' life insurance money. Did you know that? She used me for financial gain." "That's a lie." My voice came out too loud, echoing in the marble lobby. "She's been like this my whole life," Madison continued, sobbing now. "Nothing I did was ever good enough. She made me feel worthless. She still does." Courtney put her arm around Madison. Amber glared at me with disgust. "You should leave." I tried to defend myself, tried to explain, but Madison talked over me. Her voice rose higher and higher until the security guards approached. 2 large men in uniform jackets. "Ma'am, we need you to leave the building," one of them said to me. "But I just need to talk to my daughter." "Leave now, or we'll call the police." I left. What choice did I have? That evening, My phone exploded with notifications. Text after text from cousins, aunts, uncles, people I had not heard from in months. I opened the messages with dread. Is what Madison posted true? I can't believe you would treat her like that. How could you be so cruel to that poor girl? I opened Facebook with trembling fingers. Madison had posted a long statement. It read, "After years of emotional abuse and manipulation, I'm finally speaking my truth. My adoptive mother has been toxic and controlling my entire life. She made me feel like I owed her everything. She used my parents' death to make herself look like a hero. I'm done. I'm free." To anyone else dealing with toxic family members, you have the right to cut them out of your life. Choose yourself. The post had 347 comments already. All of them supporting Madison. All of them condemning me. My phone rang. My niece, Jennifer. I answered, hoping for support. "Aunt Tina, is this true? Did you really do those things to Madison?" "No, Jenny. None of it is true. She's lying. But she sent us screenshots. Texts you sent her. Horrible things. Calling her ungrateful. Threatening to cut her out of your will. Saying she ruined your life. I never sent those texts. I would never say those things. The messages have your name on them. They're fake. Madison made them up." There was a long silence. Then Jennifer said quietly, "I want to believe you, Aunt Tina. But why would Madison lie about something like this?" I had no answer that would satisfy her. The next morning, everything got worse. Someone knocked on my door at 8:30. I opened it to find a man in his 20s holding a clipboard. "Tina Marshall?" "Yes?" "You've been served." He handed me a thick envelope and walked away. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a petition for a restraining order. Madison was the petitioner. I was the respondent. The document claimed I had been stalking her, sending threatening messages, showing up at her home uninvited. There were exhibits attached, printed text messages I had supposedly sent. Messages saying things like, "You'll regret treating me like this. You owe me everything. I can make your life very difficult." I had never sent any of those messages. Someone had fabricated them. Madison had fabricated them. The temporary restraining order was already in effect. I read the words through blurred vision. The respondent shall not contact the petitioner by any means. The respondent shall stay at least 500 feet away from the petitioner's residence, workplace, and vehicle. The court hearing was scheduled for 14 days away, November 17th at 9 in the morning. I was now legally barred from my own daughter. I could not call her, could not text her, could not go near her. If I violated the order, I would be arrested. I sat on my couch and cried for 2 hours. Then I remembered Gerald's card in my purse. I pulled it out and dialed his office number. "Hartman and Associates," a woman answered. "I need to speak with Gerald Hartman. It's urgent." "I'm sorry, but Mr. Hartman is out of town on a case. He won't be back for 10 days. 10 days? But I need help now. Please. I can take a message." I left my name and number, knowing it was useless. Gerald would not be back until after my hearing. I was completely alone. 7 days passed. I barely ate. I could not focus on anything. The restraining order hearing loomed over me like a dark cloud. I knew I needed a lawyer, but good lawyers cost money I did not have. Still, I had my savings. $73,000 in a high-yield savings account, money I had been putting away for years, planning for retirement. I drove to First National Bank on Monday morning. The building was modern, all glass and steel. Inside, I approached the teller. A young woman with red hair pulled into a tight bun. "I need to withdraw some money from my savings account." "Of course. Let me pull up your account." She typed on her computer, then her expression changed. She looked uncomfortable. 1 moment, please." She picked up the phone and spoke quietly to someone. A minute later, a man in his 50s wearing a gray suit approached. "Miss Marshall? I'm David Chen, the branch manager. Could you come with me, please?" He led me to a small office with a window overlooking the parking lot. He closed the door and sat behind his desk, folding his hands. Miss Marshall, I'm afraid there's been some activity on your account that we need to discuss. What kind of activity? Your savings account currently has a balance of $0. The room tilted. That's impossible. I have $73,000 in that account. You did. The funds were transferred out over the past 3 months. What? Who transferred them? He turned his computer monitor so I could see it. According to our records, your daughter Madison was added as a joint account holder 3 months ago. She made multiple transfers from your savings to her personal checking account. Small amounts at first, $500 here, $1,000 there, then larger amounts in the past 2 weeks. I stared at the screen, at the long list of transfers. I never added her to my account. I never signed anything. David pulled a file folder from his desk drawer and opened it. Here's the signature card. That's your signature, isn't it? I looked at the paper. It was my signature. Exact. Perfect. But I had never seen this document before in my life. I didn't sign that. Miss Marshall, I understand you're upset, but that's clearly your signature. She forged it. David looked sympathetic but firm. Without proof of forgery, there's nothing we can do. Madison had legal access to the account. She was authorized to make those transfers. But I didn't authorize hair. I'm very sorry. You might want to contact the police or an attorney. I checked my checking account next. $42. That was all I had left in the world. I drove home in a daze. Once inside, I went straight to my home office and pulled out every financial document I owned. File folders spilled across my desk, bank statements, insurance policies, investment account summaries, credit card bills. It took me 3 hours to go through everything, and what I found made me sick. Madison had not just emptied my savings account. 3 months ago, she had somehow gotten herself added to my checking account too. She was listed as a beneficiary on my life insurance policy worth $250,000. I definitely had not done that myself. The last time I had reviewed that policy was 6 years ago. Credit cards I thought I had closed years ago had been reopened. Thousands of dollars in charges, designer clothes, expensive restaurants, jewelry stores, all in Madison's name as an authorized user. My retirement account showed a loan had been taken against it, $30,000 borrowed. I had never taken that loan. I found more papers. A power of attorney document giving Madison legal authority over my finances. My signature was at the bottom. Perfect and real looking, but completely fake. I grabbed my phone and searched for legal aid services. I found one downtown. Community Legal Services. I called and explained my situation to the intake coordinator. She scheduled me an appointment for the next day with an attorney named Patrick Hayes. Patrick's office was small and cluttered with case files. He was maybe 40 years old, with tired eyes and a coffee stain on his tie. But he listened carefully as I explained everything, showing him all the documents I had brought. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and rubbed his face. Miss Marshall, this is systematic financial elder abuse. What your daughter has done is criminal. Can you help me prove it? Proving forgery is difficult when the signatures are this good. She either practiced extensively or hired a professional. We would need a handwriting expert, which costs several $1,000s. I don't have several $1,000s. She took everything. I know. I'm sorry. He flipped through the documents again. The bigger problem is the restraining order. With that in place, you can't even confront Madison about any of this. And if you try to press charges, she'll claim you're making false accusations because of mental decline. Mental decline? I'm 65 years old and perfectly healthy. I believe you. But perception matters in court. She's been very strategic about this. The restraining order makes you look unstable. The social media post creates a narrative of you being abusive. If you accuse her of forgery now, many people will think you're a bitter, confused old woman trying to hurt her successful daughter. I felt tears coming. So, there's nothing I can do? I'll represent you at the restraining order hearing. It's the best chance we have to get some of the truth out. But I need to be honest with you. She's been planning this for months, maybe years. She's covered every angle. I left Patrick's office feeling hopeless, but I still had my house. At least, it was paid off. It was mine. I had bought it 20 years ago for $160,000. It was probably worth $400,000 now. Whatever else Madison had stolen, she could not take my home. 2 days before the restraining order hearing, I found the foreclosure notice in my mailbox. My hands shook as I read it. The bank claimed I was 3 months behind on mortgage payments. They were initiating foreclosure proceedings. I had 30 days to pay $15,217, or the house would be sold at auction. But that was impossible. My mortgage had been on automatic payment for years. I pulled out my laptop and logged into my bank account online. There were the scheduled payments, all set up correctly. But when I looked closer, I saw that the payments had been canceled 3 months ago. Someone had logged into my account and deleted the automatic payments. Madison. It had to be Madison. I called the mortgage company immediately. A customer service representative explained that, yes, the automatic payments had been stopped, and yes, I was now 3 months behind, and yes, if I did not pay the full amount owed within 30 days, my house would be foreclosed. But I didn't stop the payments. According to our records, someone logged into your online account and deleted them. It wasn't me. I'm sorry, ma'am. But we can only go by what's in our system. I hung up and put my head in my hands. Madison had timed this perfectly. She emptied my savings account so I would not have the money to catch up on the mortgage. Then she stopped my automatic payments, so the house would go into foreclosure. Once it was foreclosed, she could buy it at auction for pennies on the dollar, then turn around and sell it for its full market value. That night, I barely slept. At 2 a.m, I got up and checked my email. There was a new message from an anonymous email address. No subject line. I almost deleted it as spam, but something made me open it. You need to see this was all it said, with a video file attached. I downloaded the file and pressed play. The video was grainy, clearly from a security camera. It showed a living room, expensive furniture, modern art on the walls. Madison and Kyle were sitting on a white couch, holding champagne glasses. "When do we get the house?" Kyle's voice was clear. Madison laughed. "Once the foreclosure goes through, I'll buy it at auction for nothing. We can flip it for $400,000 easy. Pure profit. And the life insurance?" Madison's smile made my blood run cold. "I'm working on that. I talked to her doctor. High blood pressure, family history of strokes. She could go any time. Especially with all this stress I'm putting her through." They clinked glasses and laughed. The video ended. I sat frozen in my desk chair, staring at the black screen. Madison was not just stealing from me. She was actively hoping I would die, wanting me to die, planning for it. I forwarded the video to Patrick immediately, even though it was the middle of the night. Then I sat in the dark, wondering how the daughter I had raised, the little girl I had loved with everything in me, had turned into someone capable of this. The morning of the restraining order hearing arrived. November 17th. The sky was gray, threatening rain. I dressed in my best outfit, a navy blue pantsuit I had bought 10 years ago for a work conference. Patrick met me outside the courthouse, carrying a worn leather briefcase. "Did you get the video I sent?" I asked. "I did. It's damning evidence. But there's a problem. The source is anonymous. We don't know who sent it or where it came from. The judge might not allow it." "But you saw it. You heard what she said." "I believe you, Tina. But the legal system has rules about evidence." We went through security and took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Family court. The hallway was full of people. Lawyers in suits, families whispering nervously, children playing with phones. I spotted Madison immediately. She stood near a water fountain with a man in an expensive charcoal suit. Her lawyer, I assumed. Madison looked perfect. She wore a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment, and her hair was styled in soft waves. When she saw me, she did not react at all, just turned away and continued talking to her lawyer. At 9 o'clock, we were called into the courtroom. The judge was a woman in her 50s with short gray hair and reading glasses on a chain around her neck. The Honorable Judge Patricia Williams, according to the nameplate on her bench. Madison's lawyer spoke first. His name was Jonathan Blake, and he had the confident manner of someone who wins cases. Your Honor, my client has been subjected to months of harassment and emotional abuse by her adoptive mother. Miss Marshall has sent threatening text messages, shown up at my client's residence uninvited, and made false accusations of theft. He presented the fake text messages as evidence. They looked real. They had my name, my phone number, but I had never sent them. Miss Marshall has become increasingly unstable, Jonathan continued. My client is genuinely afraid for her safety. Then Madison took the stand. She looked small and vulnerable in the witness chair. When she spoke, her voice shook. I love my mom. I always have. But over the past year, she's changed. She started accusing me of stealing from her. She would call me 50, 60 times a day. When I didn't answer, she would show up at my apartment building and wait for hours in the lobby. The security guards had to escort her out multiple times. That's not true, I whispered to Patrick. You'll get your turn, he whispered back. I think she might have dementia, Madison continued, and I watched her eyes fill with tears, real tears, streaming down her cheeks. It breaks my heart, but I can't help her if she won't get treatment. And I can't let her hurt me in the process. I'm engaged to be married. I'm trying to build a life. I need her to let me go. Courtney and Amber were called as witnesses. They both testified that they had seen me at Madison's building acting aggressive and unhinged. Kyle testified too. He said I had disrupted their engagement party and made threats toward Madison. When it was my turn to testify, I explained everything. The stolen money, the forged signatures, the stopped mortgage payments. I told the truth as clearly as I could. Patrick tried to present the video evidence. Judge Williams watched it, her expression unreadable. When it finished, she looked at Jonathan. Does your client have a response to this video? Madison's face was the picture of shock and hurt. Your Honor, I have no idea where that video came from. That's not even my voice. Someone edited it to make it look like me. This is exactly what I'm talking about. My mother is making up elaborate stories to hurt me. Judge Williams turned to Patrick. Can you verify the source of this video? No, Your Honor. It was sent anonymously. Then I can't accept it as evidence. It could be edited, fabricated, or taken out of context. Patrick tried to argue about the bank records, the forged signatures, but Jonathan countered every point. My client was added to those accounts with Miss Marshall's permission. She helped her adoptive mother manage her finances because Miss Marshall was becoming forgetful. The withdrawals were authorized. This is a classic case of an elderly person becoming confused about their own financial decisions and then blaming family members. I wanted to scream. Everything he said was a lie, but he said it with such confidence, such authority, that I could see the judge considering his words. After 90 minutes, Judge Williams made her ruling. I'm going to extend the restraining order for 1 full year. Miss Marshall is ordered to stay at least 500 feet from Miss Warren at all times. She is not to contact her by phone, text, email, or any other means. She is not to come to Miss Warren's residence or place of work. Your Honor, please, I started to say. Judge Williams held up her hand. Miss Marshall, I strongly encourage you to seek a mental health evaluation. There seems to be significant confusion on your part about recent events. This court takes elder welfare seriously, but we also take harassment seriously. Do you understand the terms of this order? Yes, I whispered. If you violate it, you will be arrested. Court is adjourned. Patrick and I walked out of the courthouse into drizzling rain. I'm sorry, Tina. I did the best I could. I know you did. Don't give up. We'll figure something out. But I had no fight left in me. Within 3 days, the foreclosure became final. My house was scheduled for auction. I had to be out within 5 days. 5 days to pack up 20 years of my life. I had no money for a new place. I could barely afford a motel room. I sat in my living room, surrounded by moving boxes, and cried. My neighbor Helen knocked on the door. She was 72 years old, a widow who had lived next door for 15 years. We had always been friendly, sharing garden vegetables and watering each other's plants during vacations. "Tina, honey, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry." "Thank you, Helen. Where will you go?" "I don't know. A motel, I guess." Helen took my hand. "Nonsense. You're coming to stay with me. I have a spare bedroom. It's yours for as long as you need it." I started crying again, but this time with gratitude. "I can't impose on you like that." "You're not imposing. You're accepting help from a friend." The auction happened 4 days later. I was not there, but Patrick called me afterward. The house sold for $100,000, far below market value. Want to guess who bought it? Madison. Technically, an LLC called Riverside Properties. But when I looked it up, Madison is listed as the manager. 2 weeks later, Madison sold my house for $420,000, $320,000 in profit. She posted photos on social media of herself and Kyle looking at mansions. The caption read, "House hunting for our dream home, so blessed." The post had 863 likes. My extended family continued to shun me. My cousin Linda sent me a text. "I don't know what happened between you and Madison, but I can't be involved, I'm sorry." My uncle stopped returning my calls. Madison also posted a long message about cutting toxic people out of your life and choosing to heal. It was shared 497 times. I lived in Helen's spare bedroom, sleeping on a twin bed with a handmade quilt. I had nothing left. No money, no home, no family, no dignity. One afternoon, I sat at Helen's kitchen table drinking tea. Helen sat across from me, watching me with worried eyes. "You need to eat something, dear." "I'm not hungry." "You haven't eaten in 2 days." I just shook my head. What was the point? Helen reached across the table and took my hand. "Tina, I need to tell you something. My granddaughter works as a nurse at County Hospital. She called me yesterday. She said something strange has been happening." I looked up. "What?" "A young woman matching Madison's description has been coming to the hospital, asking questions about medication interactions. Specifically, what medications could cause a stroke in an older woman." My blood turned to ice. Helen continued, her voice low. "She also tried to access your medical records. The hospital flagged it as suspicious and denied the request. But Tina, she's looking for ways to hurt you." I thought about the video. Madison talking about my high blood pressure, about me having a stroke. She was not just waiting for me to die naturally. She was researching how to make it happen. "I need to call the police," I said. "With what proof? A video from an anonymous source? Questions at a hospital?" She was right. I had nothing concrete. Nothing that would hold up in court. Madison had been so careful. I sat there in Helen's kitchen, realizing the full horror of my situation. Madison did not just want my money, she wanted me dead. And she was smart enough, patient enough, to make it look natural. 2 weeks after the hearing, my phone rang, with an unfamiliar number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. "Tina Marshall?" "Yes, this is Gerald Hartman. I apologize for being unreachable during your crisis. I was in Boston on a trial that went longer than expected. Can you meet me today? 2 o'clock at the corner coffee shop on 5th Street? Yes. Yes, of course. I arrived 15 minutes early. The coffee shop was small and cozy, with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. I ordered tea and sat by the window, watching people walk past on the sidewalk. Gerald arrived exactly at 2 o'clock. He ordered black coffee and sat across from me in a wooden chair. "I know what happened at your hearing," he said. "I'm sorry." "How do you know?" "I've been investigating Madison for the past 6 months. I have connections at the courthouse." He pulled out a thick file folder and set it on the table between us. "Tina, I need to tell you something about your sister." My heart pounded. "You said you knew her." "I was Sarah's attorney 20 years ago. I handled her will and Madison's adoption paperwork when she and Tom died. Then you know they died in a car accident." Gerald's face was grave. Tina, Sarah, and Tom didn't die in a car accident. They're not dead. The room spun. What are you talking about? I saw death certificates. Those were forged. Sarah and Tom were drug addicts, in and out of jail. When Madison was 7 years old, they voluntarily gave up their parental rights. They signed the paperwork in my office. They wanted nothing to do with her. I could not breathe. But the social worker told me they died. She showed me documents. Someone lied to you. I don't know who or why, but Sarah and Tom abandoned Madison. They didn't die. Are they still alive now? Sarah died 5 years ago. Overdose. But Tom is alive. He's in prison in Nevada, serving 10 years for armed robbery. I put my head in my hands. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. Does Madison know this? Yes. She's known for 3 years. Gerald opened the folder and pulled out copies of letters. Madison hired a private investigator when she was 25. Found her father. She's been corresponding with him regularly. He spread the letters on the table. I read them with growing horror. Madison and Tom wrote back and forth about money, about Tina's money, about how to get what you deserve. In one letter, Madison wrote, "She adopted me to feel like a saint. She loves telling people how she saved me. Well, now it's time she paid for that. I'm going to take everything from her, and then you and I will split it 50-50 when you get out." Tom's response, "That's my girl. Take her for everything she's worth. She owes you for taking you away from your real family." He felt sick. He's eligible for parole? In 6 months. Madison is planning for his release. She wants to have all your assets liquidated by then, so they can disappear together. Why are you investigating her? Gerald pulled out more documents. Because Madison has done this before. 3 years ago, she borrowed $50,000 from an elderly widow named Eleanor Wright, claiming she needed it for a business investment. Eleanor never saw the money again. 2 years ago, she conned a retired teacher named Marcus Flynn out of $30,000 with a fake charity scheme. I represent 2 other victims who came to me after seeing your situation at the restaurant, Frank and Carol Jensen. They lost their entire pension to Madison's lies. He showed me photos. Eleanor, a fragile woman in her 80s. Marcus, a kind-faced man in his 70s. Frank and Carol, a couple who looked like someone's grandparents. "She's a professional con artist," Gerald said. "She targets older people, gains their trust, and bleeds them dry. You were just her biggest target because you had legal ties to her. Can we press charges? I've been building a case. I have a forensic document examiner who's willing to testify that the signatures on your bank documents were forged. I have testimony from the other victims. I have these letters between Madison and her father. I was planning to take everything to the district attorney next week. For the first time in months, I felt hope. We can stop her? We can try." Over the next hour, Gerald introduced me to Frank and Carol Jensen. They were both 73 years old, married for 51 years. They told me their story of how Madison had befriended them at a community center, claimed she was raising money for a veterans charity, and convinced them to invest their pension. $27,000. Gone. "We were so ashamed," Carol said, her eyes filling with tears. "We didn't tell anyone for months, but when we saw you at that restaurant, saw how she treated you, we knew we had to speak up." The 4 of us compared notes. Madison used the same techniques with everyone. Build trust, create urgency, take the money, then disappear. She was skilled, calculating, and completely without conscience. "We go to the district attorney on Monday," Gerald said. "With all of us together, they'll have to listen." I left the coffee shop feeling lighter than I had in weeks. I had allies. I had evidence. Maybe, just maybe, justice was possible. 3 days before our meeting with the district attorney, my phone rang. I saw Madison's name on the screen. She was violating the restraining order by calling me, but I was too shocked to hang up. "Hi, Mom," she said, and her voice was sickeningly sweet. "I have some exciting news I wanted to share with you. Kyle and I are expecting a baby." I froze. "What?" "I'm 12 weeks pregnant. We're telling everyone tomorrow at a family dinner. I just wanted you to hear it from me first. Madison, I don't understand. Why are you telling me this? Her voice changed. The sweetness dropped away, replaced by ice. Because before you think about pressing charges or causing any more trouble, you need to remember something. I'm a pregnant woman now. No judge, no jury, no district attorney is going to side with you over an expecting mother. The optics are terrible for you. You'll look like a bitter old woman trying to hurt your pregnant daughter and her unborn child. You planned this, I whispered. Drop whatever you and that lawyer are planning, or I'll destroy what's left of your reputation completely. I'll tell everyone you're threatening my baby. I'll get you arrested. I'll make sure no one ever believes another word you say. She hung up. I called Gerald immediately and told him everything. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "She's right. This changes everything. The optics are terrible. A pregnant woman against her adoptive mother? The media would have a field day, and none of it would be in our favor." Within an hour, Frank and Carol called to back out. "We can't be seen attacking a pregnant woman," Frank said apologetically. "Our grandchildren would be horrified." The district attorney's office called the next day. "We've reconsidered moving forward at this time. Given the new circumstances, we feel it's better to wait." Gerald met me at Helen's house. He looked defeated. She knew we were building a case. Someone tipped her off. How? I don't know. Maybe she has someone in my office. Maybe she hired someone to follow us. But she's always one step ahead. Madison announced her pregnancy on social media the next day. The photos showed her and Kyle glowing with happiness, her hand resting on a barely visible baby bump. The caption read, "We're having a baby. So excited to start this new chapter. I'm going to be the mother I never had." The comments were overwhelming. "Congratulations, you're glowing. You'll be an amazing mom," someone wrote. "Better mother than yours was, at least." Madison responded publicly. "I'll never treat my child the way I was treated. Breaking generational trauma, one day at a time." I sat in Helen's spare bedroom and stared at the wall. Madison had won. She had taken everything. My money, my home, my family, my reputation. And now she was going to be a mother herself, probably teaching her child the same manipulative tactics she had perfected. I had nothing left. At 65 years old, I was living in someone else's house, with $42 to my name, legally barred from the only family I had. Gerald called one last time. "Tina, I'm sorry. She beat us." "I know. If anything changes, call me." But what could possibly change? 6 weeks later, on January 7th, I found a cream-colored envelope in my mailbox at Helen's house. Heavy cardstock. Expensive. I opened it with shaking hands. It was a wedding invitation. Engraved script announced the marriage of Madison Claire Warren to Kyle Thomas Brennan at the Rolling Hills Country Club, the most exclusive venue in the state. Inside was a handwritten note. "I know about the restraining order. I'm dropping it for one day so you can attend my wedding. Everyone expects a mother to be at her daughter's wedding, don't they? If you don't come, it just proves you're as toxic as I've said. If you do come, well, we'll see what happens. Your choice, Madison." I showed the note to Gerald. He shook his head. "It's a trap. She's planning something." "I know it's a trap. But if I don't go, it confirms everything she said about me. Every family member, every friend, everyone who's already doubting me will say, 'See? She didn't even go to her own daughter's wedding.' What kind of mother does that? Tina, she's dangerous. I've lost everything already. What more can she take?" Helen agreed with Gerald. "Don't go, sweetheart. Stay away from her." But I had made up my mind. I would not give Madison the satisfaction of proving her right. I would attend the wedding with my head held high. Gerald insisted on coming with me. "If you're walking into a trap, you're not going alone, and I'm wearing a wire." "A wire?" "A recording device. Whatever she's planning, we'll have evidence this time." The wedding was on February 14th, Valentine's Day. How perfect for Madison. Helen lent me a dress, a simple rose-colored shift that hung a bit loose on me. I had lost weight in the past months. My face looked hollow, older. I barely recognized myself in the mirror. Gerald picked me up at 11 o'clock. He wore a dark suit and had a small recording device hidden in his jacket pocket. Rolling Hills Country Club sat on 200 acres of manicured grounds, with a mansion that looked like it belonged in a movie. There were valets, parking cars, all of them luxury vehicles. I felt painfully out of place. Inside, the ballroom was spectacular. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. White roses covered every surface. A string quartet played near floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a lake. I counted heads. At least 500 guests. This wedding probably cost more than I had earned in 5 years. An usher seated Gerald and me in the very back row, as far from the family section as possible. I sat in that hard folding chair and watched my extended family take their seats up front. Cousins I had not spoken to in months. My uncle and his wife, Madison's friends from college, Kyle's enormous family, all dressed like they belonged in a fashion magazine. When Madison appeared, walking down the aisle on Kyle's father's arm, I could not deny she looked beautiful. Her dress was strapless, fitted, with a long train. Her hair was in an elaborate updo. She glowed. Her baby bump was clearly visible now. She was 6 months along, according to her social media posts. The ceremony was short. Traditional vows. I watched it all from the back row, an invisible ghost at my own daughter's wedding. The reception began immediately after. Cocktail hour, with servers carrying trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvre. I stood against a wall, sipping water, watching Madison and Kyle make their rounds greeting guests. She walked past me twice without even glancing in my direction, as if I did not exist. Dinner was served at 7 o'clock. Round tables with white tablecloths and elaborate centerpieces. I was seated at a table in the far corner with 7 strangers who did not speak to me. After dinner, the toasts began. Kyle's father stood up, his face red from champagne. He praised Madison for her grace, her beauty, her strength. "She's overcome so much," he said. "A difficult childhood, losing her parents, being raised in less than ideal circumstances. But she never let that define her. She rose above it. We're so proud to welcome her into our family." I felt each word like a knife. Then Madison stood up. She took the microphone. The room went silent. "I want to thank everyone for being here today," she began. Her voice was strong, confident. "This is the happiest day of my life. But I want to take a moment to acknowledge someone special here today. My adoptive mother, Tina." A spotlight swiveled to find me. Suddenly, every single person in the room was staring at me. I wanted to disappear. Madison continued, her voice carrying across the ballroom. "She did her best to raise me. But sometimes, people's best isn't enough. I've learned that we can't choose our family, but we can choose to rise above our circumstances. We can choose to break cycles. We can choose healing." She placed her hand on her belly, the gesture clearly deliberate. "I'm going to be a mother soon, and I promise this child will know what real love looks like. Not obligation, not resentment. Real, unconditional love." The room erupted in applause. People were crying. Madison smiled, basking in the attention. I sat frozen, humiliated once again. Gerald squeezed my hand under the table. After the speech, I stood up to leave. I could not take another moment. But Kyle's father appeared in front of me. He had clearly been drinking. His face was flushed, his words slightly slurred. "Madison told us everything about what you did to her," he said loudly. "Taking her parents' life insurance money, treating her like a burden, making her feel worthless." Other guests were gathering, listening. "That's not true," I said quietly. "She's pregnant, for God's sake, and you're still trying to cause trouble. Shame on you. You should be grateful she even invited you." "Sir, I think you should step back," Gerald said, standing up. "Who are you?" "I'm Miss Marshall's attorney." Kyle's father laughed. Of course she brought a lawyer to her daughter's wedding. That tells you everything you need to know about her. Madison appeared, tears already streaming down her face. It was a performance worthy of an Oscar. Please, Dad, leave her alone. I invited her to show that I've forgiven her. I don't want to cause a scene on my wedding day. The scene was perfectly calculated. Madison looked like a saint, graciously forgiving her terrible mother. I looked like the villain who brought an attorney to a wedding and caused drama. I turned to leave. I would not give her the satisfaction of watching me break down. But as I took my first step toward the exit, something happened. The music cut out abruptly. The lights flickered. Then a woman's voice came through the speakers, loud and clear. Stop the wedding. That woman is a fraud. Everyone turned. A woman in her 30s stood at the ballroom entrance. She wore a navy blue pantsuit and carried a leather briefcase. Her dark hair was pulled back in a bun, and she walked with purpose toward the head table. Madison's face went white. Who are you? Kyle demanded. This is a private event. The woman held up her hand. My name is Dr. Emily Graham. I'm an obstetrician at Mercy Hospital. She looked directly at Madison. Madison has been my patient for 6 weeks. She came to me claiming she was pregnant. Madison stood up, her voice shaking. This is my private medical information. You can't share that. I'll have your license. Dr. Graham opened her briefcase and pulled out a file folder. I'm here because you're committing fraud. You're not pregnant, Madison. You never were. The room erupted in gasps and murmurs. Kyle stared at Madison. What is she talking about? Dr. Graham pulled papers from the folder. I have your test results right here. Negative pregnancy test administered 6 weeks ago. Ultrasound performed 4 weeks ago showing no fetus. You asked me to falsify your records. I refused. So you found another doctor who would give you fake documents. Madison's face cycled through emotions. Shock, rage, panic. You're lying. This is insane. Gerald stood up, his phone in his hand. He walked to the front of the room. May I? He asked, gesturing to the projection screen. The DJ connected Gerald's phone. Images appeared on the screen, 10 feet tall for everyone to see. Receipts. Amazon orders for a fake pregnancy belly. 3 different sizes, ordered at 6 weeks apart. $497 total. Text messages between Madison and someone named Dr. Marcus Chen arranging for fake sonogram images. $2,000 for a complete set of fraudulent medical documentation. The room was silent except for the clicking of Gerald's phone as he swiped through evidence. More images appeared. Madison's search history. How to fake a pregnancy. Fake baby bump reviews. Do pregnancy tests work twice? Kyle stood up, his face a mask of horror. You're not pregnant? Madison opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Gerald kept going. Want to see more? Here's evidence of fraud against 3 other elderly victims. Here are letters between Madison and her biological father, who's currently in prison, planning how to split stolen assets. He projected the letters on the screen. Madison and Tom's correspondence, planning to bleed me dry, discussing my life insurance policy. Kyle read the words on the screen. His mouth fell open. You were hoping her mother would die? No, Kyle, you don't understand, Madison started. But a police detective stood up from one of the tables. He had been sitting there the entire time, undercover. Madison Claire Warren, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, theft, and attempted elder abuse. Madison screamed. She looked at Kyle. Help me! But Kyle stepped away from her, disgust on his face. Don't touch me. Madison tried to run. She kicked off her heels and bolted for the exit. The detective and 2 uniformed officers who had entered the ballroom moved to intercept her. She did not make it 10 feet before they had her in handcuffs. This is all her fault, Madison screamed, pointing at me. She should have given me everything without making me work for it. I deserved that money. I deserved better than her. The officers read Madison her rights while 500 wedding guests watched in stunned silence. Kyle stood at the head table, gripping a chair, looking like he might be sick. Kyle's father stared at the screen, which still showed the incriminating evidence. He looked at me, then looked away, his face red with shame. As the police escorted Madison out, she screamed threats and insults. You'll regret this. I'll destroy you. You're nothing without me. The ballroom doors closed behind her. The room remained silent for a full minute. Then Gerald turned to face the guests. "I apologize for disrupting this celebration, but that woman has been systematically stealing from her adoptive mother for 2 years. She forged documents. She faked a pregnancy. She planned to let her mother die for life insurance money. Tina Marshall loved her, raised her, gave her everything. And this is how Madison repaid her." He gestured to Dr. Graham. Dr. Graham came forward when Madison tried to involve her in the fraud. "The police have been investigating for 3 weeks, gathering evidence. They were waiting for Madison to make one final fraudulent claim before making the arrest. The fake pregnancy was that final piece." Kyle sank into his chair, his head in his hands. His father sat down next to him, looking 20 years older than he had an hour ago. My extended family members started approaching me. My niece Jennifer was crying. "Aunt Tina, I'm so sorry. We should have believed you." One by one, they apologized. Cousins, aunts, uncles, some were crying, some looked embarrassed. All of them had abandoned me when I needed them most. The week after Madison's arrest was a blur of police statements, legal proceedings, and media attention. The story made the local news. Adopted daughter arrested at own wedding for elder fraud. The details were shocking enough to capture people's attention. Madison was charged with 7 felonies, 3 counts of forgery, 2 counts of fraud, 1 count of theft over $50,000, and 1 count of attempted elder abuse. The district attorney said there would likely be additional charges as they continued investigating. Gerald explained that with the evidence they had, including the recorded confessions, the forged documents, and testimony from multiple victims, Madison would almost certainly be convicted. "She's looking at significant prison time. 5 to 7 years, possibly more." Madison tried to fight the charges at first. Her expensive lawyer argued temporary insanity, emotional distress, trauma from her childhood. But when the prosecution presented the evidence of her 3-year plan, the letters with her father, the fake pregnancy scheme, even that lawyer advised her to take a plea deal. 2 weeks after her arrest, Madison pleaded guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. 5 years in state prison, with possibility of parole after 3 years. I attended the sentencing hearing. Madison was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. She looked at me once, her eyes full of hatred. Then she looked away. The judge asked if she had anything to say. Madison stood up. "I'm sorry," she said, but her voice was flat, emotionless. She was reading from a prepared statement her lawyer had written. "I take responsibility for my actions. I was wrong." But she did not mean a word of it. I could tell. The judge sentenced her to 5 years. As the bailiff led her away, Madison turned and looked at me one more time. "I hope you're happy," she hissed. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no revenge, no triumph, just emptiness. Kyle's family reached out through their attorney. They offered to pay for the wedding venue and services as an apology for what happened. I declined. They also returned the wedding gifts that had been intended for Madison and Kyle. Over $60,000 in checks and luxury items. Kyle himself sent me a letter. "Mrs. Marshall, I'm sorry for everything. I was blind to what Madison really was. She fooled me completely. Thank you for trying to protect me, even though I didn't listen. I hope you can find peace. Sincerely, Kyle." I heard through Gerald that Kyle moved to California 2 months later, trying to start fresh. The bank reversed the fraudulent transactions. My $73,000 was returned to my account from Madison's seized assets, plus interest. The house sale was also reversed due to fraud. The new owners were not happy, but the court ruled in my favor. I got my house back, plus $15,000 in damages for the emotional distress and wrongful foreclosure. The insurance company canceled Madison as beneficiary on my life insurance policy. I changed it to split between several charities. Frank and Carol Jensen also recovered their lost pension money from Madison's seized accounts. They sent me a fruit basket with a card that said, "Thank you for having the courage to fight." My extended family tried to reconcile. Jennifer visited me at my house one evening. She cried and apologized for not believing me. I was so stupid, Aunt Tina. You needed us, and we abandoned you. You believed what you saw, I said. Madison was very convincing. But you're our family. We should have given you the benefit of the doubt. Over the next few months, other family members reached out. Dinners, coffee dates, phone calls. Everyone wanted to apologize and reconnect. I was gracious. I accepted their apologies. But I also told them the truth. When I had no proof, just my word, none of you believed me. That hurt more than anything Madison did. You all chose to believe I was a bitter, confused old woman instead of listening to me. They had no defense. They knew I was right. We rebuilt relationships slowly. Thanksgiving that year, my family held a big dinner at my house. 23 people came. They went out of their way to show me love and support, trying to make up for abandoning me. Helen, my neighbor, who had given me shelter when I had nothing, became one of my closest friends. We had coffee together every morning. She helped me replant my garden. We joined a book club together. Gerald Hartman also became a true friend. He invited me to his family's holiday gatherings. His wife, Martha, welcomed me warmly. They had 3 children and 7 grandchildren, and they included me like I was part of their family. Kyle reached out one more time, 6 months after the sentencing. He called to check how I was doing. I think about what happened all the time, he said. How I believed her lies, how I treated you at that restaurant. I'm so sorry. You were deceived, Kyle. She was very good at deception. You gave her every opportunity to be a good person. You loved her genuinely. None of this is your fault. After we hung up, I thought about his words. For months, I had been carrying guilt, wondering if I had done something wrong, if I had somehow failed as a mother. But Kyle was right. I had given Madison love, opportunity, support, everything a mother could give. Her choices were her own. I started volunteering at a family services organization that supported foster and adoptive families. I mentored other adoptive parents, helping them navigate difficult situations with troubled children. I shared my story not for sympathy, but to help others recognize warning signs of manipulation and abuse. The organization asked me to speak at a conference about elder financial abuse. Standing at that podium, looking out at 200 people, I told my story. I showed them how easily someone you love and trust can exploit you, how the legal system often fails to protect the elderly, how important it is to watch for red flags. After my speech, dozens of people came up to share their own stories. Elderly parents whose children had stolen from them, grandparents being exploited by grandchildren. It was an epidemic, and most victims were too ashamed to speak up. I became an advocate. I wrote an article for the local newspaper about financial elder abuse, and it was picked up by several national publications. I was interviewed on 2 radio shows. My message was simple. Love does not mean letting people destroy you. Real family protects each other, not exploits each other. Helen told me something that became my motto. You can't save someone who's determined to drown you in the process. I also reconnected with my career. The hospital where I had worked 20 years ago reached out. They needed someone to help establish protocols for protecting elderly patients from financial exploitation by family members. They offered me a part-time consulting position. I accepted. The work was meaningful. I helped train staff to recognize signs of abuse. I developed screening tools. I created educational materials for patients and families. 1 year after Madison's arrest, I was sitting in my living room, the living room I almost lost, in my house that was fully mine again. The mortgage was paid off. My savings were restored. My life was peaceful. I received a letter forwarded from my lawyer. It was from a young woman named Ashley Connor, age 23. She wrote, Dear Mrs. Marshall, you don't know me, but Madison scammed me 5 years ago when I was 18. She convinced me to loan her $12,000 from my college fund, claiming she would invest it and triple my money. I never saw it again, and I was too ashamed to report it. I dropped out of college because I couldn't afford tuition. When I heard about your case on the news, I finally came forward. The police are helping me now. Thank you for having the courage to speak up. You saved others from becoming victims. Your bravery gave me courage. Sincerely, Ashley. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer with similar letters I had received, 12 letters, from 12 different people Madison had hurt over the years, all of them thanking me for stopping her. That was when I realized my pain had purpose. If I had stayed silent, Madison would still be out there, hurting people. The fake pregnancy might have worked. She might have manipulated Kyle and his wealthy family for years. She might have succeeded in getting my life insurance money. But I fought back, and that made all the difference. I did not visit Madison in prison. Many people asked if I would. My answer was always the same. I gave her 20 years of my life. I'm giving myself the rest of my life. Some family members judged me for that decision. They thought I should offer forgiveness, should try to help Madison rehabilitate. But I knew the truth. Madison was not sorry. She was only sorry she got caught. Real remorse would have shown itself years ago, before she stole everything from me. Gerald agreed with my decision. You don't owe her anything. You paid your debt to your sister by raising her child. That debt is cleared. Madison's choices are her responsibility now. I started traveling, doing things I had postponed for 20 years while raising Madison. I went to New Mexico to see the desert. I visited New York City and saw 3 Broadway shows. I took a cruise to Alaska and watched whales breach in icy waters. I made new friends. I joined a hiking group, even though my knees protested at first. I took a watercolor painting class and discovered I had some talent for it. I adopted a rescue dog, a golden retriever mix named Sunny, who slept at the foot of my bed every night. At 66 years old, I was living more fully than I had in decades. I also made peace with my past. I pulled out photo albums from when Madison was young. I looked at pictures of her as a child, smiling gap-toothed smiles, hugging me in front of our Christmas tree, blowing out birthday candles. That little girl had been real. My love for her had been real. What she became later did not erase those early years. I mourned for that little girl who had so much potential. I mourned for what could have been if she had chosen a different path. But I did not blame myself anymore. One evening, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of tea, looking through old photographs. One picture showed my sister, Madison's biological mother, at age 32, just a year before she died. She was smiling at the camera, her eyes so similar to Madison's. I spoke to the photo quietly. Sarah, I kept my promise to you. I loved your daughter with everything I had. I gave her every opportunity. I tried to show her how to be a good person. I'm sorry it wasn't enough to save her, but it was enough to save myself. I put the photo away and made a decision. I would not spend the rest of my life looking backward. I would look forward. The hard truth I learned was this. You can do everything right as a parent and still end up with a child who makes terrible choices. Love is not always enough. Sacrifice is not always appreciated. And sometimes, the best thing you can do is protect yourself and let people face the consequences of their actions. At 67 years old now, 2 years after everything happened, I am stronger than I have ever been. I have real friends who value me. I have family members who proved they deserved my trust by sticking around through the rebuilding. I have meaningful work that helps others. I have a home that is truly mine, with no one scheming to take it from me. Madison will be released from prison eventually. When that day comes, I will not be there. I will not write to her, visit her, or have any contact. I made that decision and communicated it through my attorney. Some people think I'm heartless for that, but I know the truth. I am not heartless. I am healed. The hardest thing I ever did was stand up when everyone believed I was wrong, but the truth has a way of surfacing. Lies eventually fall apart. Justice takes time, but it comes to those who refuse to give up. Madison taught me many painful lessons. She taught me that being a parent does not guarantee being loved. She taught me that sacrifice can be taken for granted. She taught me that even people you raise can betray you. But she also taught me something important. I am enough. I was always enough. I did not need Madison's approval or gratitude. I did everything right. Her choices were hers alone. At this point in my life, I choose peace. I choose authenticity. I choose to spend my time with people who genuinely care about me, not people who see me as something to exploit. To anyone listening who has experienced betrayal by family, who has been exploited by someone they loved, who has been made to feel crazy when they knew they were telling the truth, you are not alone. Your pain is valid. Your truth matters. And you have the right to protect yourself, even from family. Sometimes love means walking away. Sometimes healing means cutting ties. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. I am living proof that you can survive betrayal. You can rebuild after losing everything. You can find joy again after devastating heartbreak. It takes time. It takes courage. It takes support from good people, but it is possible. My message to you is this: never let anyone convince you that your reality is false. Trust your instincts. Document everything. Speak up even when no one believes you. Find the people who will stand with you. Fight for yourself with the same energy you would fight for someone you love, because you are worth fighting for. Today, I am at peace. My life is full and meaningful. I have love, but not from Madison. I have family, but I chose them carefully this time. I have security, but I protect it fiercely now. I have learned that blood does not always mean loyalty, and that the family you choose can be stronger than the family you're born into. I think back to that moment in the restaurant when Gerald spoke up for me. That was the beginning of everything changing. One person believing me when everyone else thought I was wrong. Sometimes that's all it takes. One person who sees the truth, one person who refuses to stay silent, one person who stands up for what's right. Be that person for yourself. And if you can, be that person for someone else who needs it. Have you ever experienced a situation where someone you trusted completely betrayed you? How did you find the strength to fight back and rebuild your life? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who's going through something similar right now. If this story resonated with you or helped you in any way, please consider liking this video. It helps others who might need to hear this message find it. And if you want to hear more stories about overcoming difficult family situations, finding strength in adversity, and choosing yourself when others let you down, please subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything. I also encourage you to share this story with anyone who might benefit from hearing it. You never know who in your life might be quietly suffering through family betrayal or elder abuse. Sometimes just knowing that someone else survived it can give them the courage to speak up. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I know it was long and I know it was painful in places, but I hope it left you with this truth. You are stronger than you think. You can survive more than you imagine. And on the other side of betrayal is a life you build for yourself, on your own terms, with people who genuinely deserve to be in it. Take care of yourselves. Protect your peace. Choose people who choose you. And remember, it's never too late to start over and build the life you deserve. Thank you. And may you find healing, strength, and peace in whatever challenges you're facing.